back to Theatre Downstream.
Yes.
Once the pandemic kind of made it more of a reality that things weren't going to be opening in terms of theater for probably quite some time, what were your thoughts, especially as kind of a younger theater, when you had that realization of like not knowing when you'd be able to do this again?
All right. It's the answer is what we've already said, pivot. I just said, okay, what can we do now? It's never been something where I took any kind of obstacle as a finality. It was, all right, that way is closed. Now how can we turn and go the other way? One of my co-directors, I told her, I was explaining to her, like, when this all happened, I felt like, let me get this right. I felt like theater as it had always been was this square peg or this, flat area. And I saw other theaters with the best of intentions trying to make their round hole, trying to make the round hole of COVID fit this square peg of the way it had always been. So they were doing Zoom plays and they were doing stuff that had no business being a Zoom play and putting it out there. And they didn't, and I'm not disparaging any of them. They were trying, they were making content, but it's not the way that play was intended to be seen. So you now have this square peg and we got to figure out, COVID is not changing. We can't keep trying to change COVID to fit us. We have to rise and meet that. So what are our new restrictions? How can we now become a circle that this can fit into? So I just went, all right, I know how to film. I've got equipment. I can buy some of the extra stuff that we need. And I don't believe in doing anything halfway. So again, I'm not insulting the folks who did Zoom plays. I think that's fine. But I didn't want that to be what we did because I thought we could rise higher than that. And I hope I'm not coming out as sounding insulting to them. I really don't mean that. I respect that they did it. I admire that they did it and came out the gate and said, this is what we're going to do in the backgrounds and all that. I don't think I could do that. That's just not who I'm made to be. I can't stop who I am. And who I am said, you know how to make films. You have some old dusty sketches that you wrote that never got used. Let's put a call out. You know that your actors, once we decided to go forward with this, which again, I jumped into it not realizing what an enormous project it was going to be. We're going to end up with 4 hours worth of material. That's 2 full-length motion pictures. That's a lot of stuff. But once we decided we were doing it, we also made the decision not to have open auditions because we believe so strongly in fair auditions. It was impossible to have fair auditions in that we couldn't meet in person. We couldn't say, here's the script, here, let's get to know you. We had to pick people that we knew their work ethic. And more importantly, they knew us and they knew that we're a little quirky, we think outside the box. A lot of times we just say, here's what we're going to do. Now let's figure out together how we're going to get there. So we have about 160 alumni. I made a Facebook page several years ago. If you're in our show, I add you to the Facebook group. And I just posted in the Facebook group. I did a Facebook Live and I said, all right, here's what's happening. We're going to do this. And if you've always wanted to write, if you've said, you've seen me write stuff for our theater. If you've always said, I know I can do this, write something. You have 4 weeks. If you need help, come to us. We'll help you. But we had people who wrote poems. They wrote monologues. They wrote sketches. Some people who had never done it. Some people who loved poetry and hadn't written in a while. One of our main writers is a wonderful writer, Jillian, and she hadn't done it in years. And she wrote a bulk. If I contributed a lot to the first half, she secondarily contributed, and her daughter wrote something with her. And it was just, that's what I loved, is giving them this project and saying, all right, guys, what can we do? How can we do this? Let's do something different. That's who we are, is we're this quirky little scrappy theater that just takes all of these obstacles and we make something magical out of it. And that's what this past summer was.
Yes,
sure the question would be, how did you stay safe? Everybody wants to know, because I made sure to put at the front of our production that nobody got COVID. Nobody came down with it. No one was sick. We rehearsed via Zoom. So we had our auditions via Zoom. Everybody was really cool because there was a lot of parts. You've seen it. There's a lot of different stuff. And usually if this was normal, we would audition them. We would call and offer them a role. And we just said, guys, can we just assign you parts? Do you care? And they were, no, we're good. So some of the people who wrote stuff and wanted to perform their own material, we didn't even put that up for audition. We said, it's yours. We're going to do it. So that went off to the side. That wasn't audition. But everybody else, we said, here's the material. We put it in a Dropbox and said, here's what everybody wrote. If you like something, pick 60 seconds and make us a video. Any 60 seconds. Have your husband, have your friend, have your mom read off camera with you and audition. And they did, and they were adorable videos. They were so creative. And then we auditioned to Zoom and read people with each other and paired them up and said, okay, here's what you're going to do. And they just let us assign them. They said, no, we trust you. And that's why we wanted alumni. We wanted people who knew us to go, nope, we know you don't know what you're doing, but you're going to figure it out. And just stick us where you need us, and we'll do whatever you need. So each of the directors picked a couple sketches and said, I'll take this, I'll take that. And they were responsible for it. And they rehearsed via Zoom. And I kind of predicted that in Kentucky, we were going to get, we got to, you can have 50 people. We had like 10 days or something where you could have 50 people in a group. So that's when we filmed all the big stuff. The stuff where you see a lot of people. And all of the production team wore masks. We did temperature checks before you could go on set. And we had a symptom checker where they had to say, and if they went, because summer's vacation time, so we didn't tell people they couldn't go somewhere. If they went on vacation, they then had to wait 2 weeks before they could film. So using all of those precautions, and it took a long time to film. We started in July. We didn't finish until the middle of October because we were just doing it when we could.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody got sick. So we were all able to go, all right, we made it. But I also wanted to finish filming before they went back to school. The schools were shut down, and I figured, okay, once the kids start going back to school, it's going to start spreading again, and we got to get all this done. So it was a hard and fast. If it isn't filmed by October, you're not in it. And that kind of
is that crazy, like molding the two together, like your two loves again, like film and theater, like all together? It was
really, it felt like, and I also have I have an attention span where I like to keep, sometimes I'll be bored. By the time we got done with the show, if I'm directing it, by the time it plays, I'm like, oh, I'm done. I'm ready for the next thing. So doing the sketches, it was also satisfying that fast. I do things fast. Sometimes I was very prepared early on. Like I would show up to set and I had my storyboards and I had a shot list and I was like, yes, I have everything planned down to the wire. And if you see the vegetable stand, that was early. The Collier Curse, we filmed in September and I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm going to show up. We'll see who shows up. And I'm not sure what my shot list is going to be. Let's just point the camera there and point it here and let's get through this thing. So by the time I had a very disintegration by the time it started to the time it ended, I was just like, oh, and there was a day we filmed all of the songs that we hadn't yet finished. And I told my co-director, Ashly, I said, I don't know who's showing up. I don't know what we're going to sing. I don't know, but we're going to get it done. I've got my camera. I've got my microphone. Something's going to get filmed. So we went from intense planning to just full on winging it. And both worked.
Love it.
And with something like this, obviously like Lemonade Jamboree, you're reaching a far bigger audience than you would have if you were just doing kind of community theater project things. It reached us all the way out here in Nevada. Yes. So are you getting like, is it crazy to kind of hear the responses from some of the work that you've been doing?
I think it's the way it always should have been. I have always been a proponent for filming theater shows because I feel like you put all of this work into it. You've worked so hard and you have nothing to show for it. And I understand copyright. I understand all that, but I think there needs to be a way that you can work with the authors and give them a little extra if it needs to, or just because you guys never would have seen it. And I'm assuming you enjoyed it because you asked me to come and talk to you, but you never would have seen it. So what if it had just been on stage?
Selena couldn't stop singing the Lemonade Jamboree song for like a week.
I still sing it randomly. I'll be in the bathroom like the Lemonade Jamboree.
It's good. I mean, those two, Josh and Ashely, they are amazing songwriters. And I think Ashely and Matt, one of the co-directors, they say that I helped write it. I don't remember. It's all a big blur. But when I said, who wrote this? She's like, well, me, you, and Matt wrote it. I was like, I did? Okay, well, I'll put my name in there if you guys think I did it. Well, okay, I believe you. She says I did. But she jingled it, and it's amazing. It's just, that's what I'm telling you. All of these people are amazing, and I want them to be seen. They should be seen from coast to coast. They're just, talent like that should not just be on a stage in Henry County. It should be where everybody can enjoy it and watch it. And why can't we film stuff? My mom and I co-wrote a play, and I filmed it and I put it on YouTube. It's unlisted right now, but I want people to be able, I put it public every once in a while. You should be able to see it. That's what it's for. That's what art is for, is to tell stories and to touch lives. And how can we touch lives if no one can watch it?
Right.
As kind of a final thought here, what is some advice that you would give to some creatives out there who have been feeling very kind of stuck with the pandemic and at a loss for inspiration? What some advice as someone who has kind of pivoted so much and found different ways? What advice would you give them?
I would say take inventory. Firstly, what do you have? What can you do? Be honest with yourself. What can you do? What equipment do you have? You can do more than you think you can. That's always been what I have learned, is I can do more than I thought that I could. It's just the opportunity. So if you have a cell phone, microphones are cheap. You can film stuff. There's all kinds of, YouTube teaches you how to do things. We have to expand past the way it's always been. Just because it's the way it's always been doesn't mean that's the way it always needs to be. So I'm not positive that once this is over that some of the things we did during COVID aren't going to be going forward, because I loved having a Zoom read through for the first night. You know, the first read through, it's always everybody gets there and you get your material and you get all that stuff. And then, okay, you're just getting to know each other. But what if you just did it on Zoom and what if you did a Zoom where you could do the blocking rehearsals, where you're sitting there and you just are writing out the blocking and everybody gets to learn their lines. And that's, for people in community theater, that's a lot easier for them. People who are traveling a long way, when it's these early technical, not really fun rehearsals where you do a lot of stopping and starting. What if you were on Zoom and the director's just like, here, I want you to go here I want you to do this, and then we're going to come together and you're going to learn, you're going to know your lines, and we're going to really jump into this. I feel like there would be more progress faster. I don't know if this is good advice or not, but it's just, believe in yourself. And that sounds really trite. Believe in your abilities. You're already at the theater. You know what you're doing. You know how to do things. You know people. Talk to each other. What else can we do? How can we make this, how can we turn this square peg into a round hole? I mean, if I can do it, I know anybody can. I'm the poster child of, I didn't go to school for this. I am just purely experience. I have 21 years now of just doing it. And if I can, you definitely can. And if you don't know how, reach out to people who have and say, how did you do it? I'm sure they would be happy, because anybody who loves art just wants it to be out there. It's not a competition. Yeah, it's not a competition. We all want to do better, and we all want to help each other. So reach out and ask somebody for an idea, or I don't know.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I quickly wrote down some of the things that you said that just kind of hit me, that were very inspiring, of like,
very
you can do more than you think you can. When you said you can do more than you think you can, like, it's such a simple statement, but it really hit me when you said it. And also just like expand past the way things have always been. Like it's such a important message, I think, that we need to make sure we remember for when we come out of the pandemic.
Right. Or even what you said earlier in your story of, you said there's a quote that says, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right.
You're right.
And I was like, well, that hit me pretty deeply in there.
A lot of times,
that is right.
a lot of times when we cast, I love casting dark horses, people who have not ever done something before, but just have that passion. And a lot of times what will happen is the dark horses will come in and they'll have a great time at auditions and they'll do a fantastic job because they think, I'm never going to get this part. So they just have a good time. Then they get the part and immediately the self-doubt kicks in and they go, why did you pick me? I can't do this. And I say, okay, you don't believe in yourself right now. Do you believe in me? And they said, well, yes, I know that you do great shows. Have you seen our other shows? Do we always cast the perfect person? Yes, you always cast the perfect person. You are the perfect person. So if you don't believe in you, believe in me, and I believe in you. And let's just work from there.
I'm going to cry.
I'll cry. That just
We need to
tears me
start
up a
bringing
little bit.
tissue to these things, Megan. This is ridiculous, but yes. This is it. Oh, that was good. That was good.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to build the kind of place that I always wanted. So when I was a kid, I always wanted this. And it's also strange because so when we did Annie, I had this George Bailey Wonderful Life moment, because a lot of times when you're in a leadership position at a theater, you are also the bad guy. So if people don't get what they want, I've gotten a lot of messages where people made their unhappiness very well known. And I didn't ask to direct all of this stuff. We just don't have enough people. So I would love to take a break from it. Anyway, we had this moment where I walked up. We had a cast party at a McDonald's in our Eminence. And it usually closes, but they stayed open for us because it's a small town and that's what you do. And I was late because I always stay. I'm their friend, but I'm not their buddy. So I'm here and you guys are all supposed to get to know each other and be best friends and learn, but I'm not. You can't put me in there with you or you don't respect me, especially as a woman. If I'm your buddy and your friend, you're not gonna listen to me. I am your friend. I love you. I care about you, but I have to be back here. And walking up to the theater or walking up to the McDonald's, I saw all of these people that were laughing and talking to each other. And there was a guy from Indiana and there was a little kid from Shelbyville. And there was just people from 2 different states, several different counties, and they were all one big family. And I felt like none of this would be here if we hadn't had this idea. None of these people would be here. It would just be an empty Saturday night. And this is all here because we wanted to create a community, and this is what we wanted, and we got it. So I just had this moment of like, oh, this is what I always wanted, and I wish I could be in it, but I prefer that I created it, if that makes sense. I'm happy that it exists.
Yes.
Helped create it. I didn't create it. I helped.
Yes. Beautiful.
Well, Ashly Raymer-Brown, we are so very grateful that you took the time to talk to us today. Thank you so much for giving us a little insight on your life and your experience. Thank you for what you do as grown-up theater kids. We thank you so much for what you do.
We do.
And especially during this time and figuring out new ways to do what you do. I just
the second
really,
volume
really
should
awesome.
come out at some point as soon as I finish editing it. Maybe March,
Awesome.
maybe April. We'll see.
we can't wait to see it. Everyone,
Yes,
it's
everyone
the dramas.
And everyone, if you want to watch the Lemonade Jamboree, it is on Vimeo.
Yes.
It is there for you to consume as your pleasure. So
Vimeo.com/on-demand/Lemonade Jamboree. I had to look and see
there
what
it
was.
is.
Pulled it up.
There it is.
Yes, there it is.
Thank you again, Ashly. We really appreciate
Thank you
your
all.
time and being here.
Thank you.